It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, a few things we got to get done here. First, Biden's amnesty. Okay, on Tuesday, Biden issued 2 executive amnesties for illegal immigrants. First, and the more expansive of the 2, will allow roughly 500,000 illegal immigrants to obtain green cards so long as they've resided in the United States for at least a decade and are married to an American citizen. In addition, about 500,000 migrant children whose illegal immigrant parent is married to an American citizen will also be able to apply for a green card. Altogether, the amnesty ensures that at least 500,000 illegal immigrants will eventually be eligible for naturalized American citizenship. The second amnesty will provide work visas to hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants, including those enrolled in DACA who have graduated from American universities. Trump campaign spokesperson, well, it was also announced they'd be able to get Social Security cards, Social Security numbers, Social Security cards, which means they're in Social Security and Medicare at that point. Right. And Trump campaign spokesperson said in a statement that the amnesty ensures that hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants will be added to Social Security and Medicaid rolls, straining the program for its intended beneficiaries, American seniors. Yeah. Biden's mass amnesty plan will undoubtedly lead to a greater surge in migrant crime, cost taxpayers millions of dollars they cannot afford, overwhelm public services, and steal Social Security and Medicare benefits from American seniors to fund benefits for illegals, draining the programs Americans paid into their entire working lives, said the Trump campaign spokesperson. There was a lot of question, why is Biden doing this? You know, does he just live in the bubble of today? Do they actually believe that this is what will get them, reelected in November? We shall see. One thing we've seen is that young people are moving away from Biden. Mm-hmm. Old people still basically stuck in their ways, including old Democrats. Well, this isn't going to help that for Biden now. Now, I'm assuming there will be a stay that will be put on this by a court, and eventually it probably will be overturned by the Supreme Court again. But they view this as something that will benefit them strictly for the election. How, I don't know. We read Charles Cook's column yesterday where it's like, what, does Biden want to lose?
Is he trying to lose? Yeah. Well, and that's it. Because you do an executive order, which did nothing, on the border, and it was a facade to make it seem like you're doing something about the border. Then all of a sudden you follow up with this?
Well, as you notice, they've changed tack. Biden will say certain things, but Mayorkas is out there, and so is Karine Jean-Pierre, bluntly saying this is opening legal paths to get more people into the country. They're being blunt about it now. Mm-hmm. It's not even like, and the funny thing is, a week ago, it was like, yeah, okay, we're doing all this to really shut down the border. That's what Biden said. Mayorkas is on the next day, never mentioning that the border is more secure, simply saying, all right, this gives us more legal pathways to bring more people in.
Yeah.
And Biden stopped talking about securing the border after he, told the big lie after he put through the new executive order. And it was obvious it wasn't going to do anything. The reporters were out there. He dropped it after a day, and they just went right into, okay, now we got many more legal pathways for people to get into the country. It's not going to go over well with the American public.
No, it's not. And you look at it, again, asking, where do you think it's going to wind up? Because even if we were in a situation where, okay, let's talk about changing legal immigration. Well, number one, that's done through Congress. Number two, we're not at that point, and there's a reason we're not at that point, because Americans don't want to even discuss it right now. And yet he comes through with this. It really is bizarre. Politically, it makes zero sense. I don't know where the approach is from, because you're You're saying, a couple of weeks ago on an executive order, you're trying to convince people you're being tougher on the border. And now you're trying to say we're going to open the border even further and get as many people here legally as we can. I don't know how they're not reading the room right now. Look at all the different polls that are out there. Tell me one poll that this move favors. It works against every poll that we see right now of where Americans are. We might have a discussion at some point about changing legal immigration, but it ain't going to be today. And it certainly wasn't yesterday. And it ain't going to be between now and November 5th. And I don't know how they don't know how to read the room. I don't get that.
I think they live in their own bubble. I think when they're in the Beltway, they think that the response that they get back, remember, there's very little Biden actually and his staff. Look at it. The vast majority of his staff, think about this. They're pro-terrorist. They're anti-Semites.
Mm-hmm.
They wrote the letter early on.
Mm-hmm.
The bureaucrats wrote it, I think, by the time we got to December. By January this year, his immediate staff, ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. Israel's doing wrong. Israel, I mean, they sound like AOC. Understand how radical these people are and the delusional world that they live in. And to bring up a point you brought up earlier, this is the same party that believes that a man can be a woman if the man says so.
Then why do the move a couple of weeks ago? To make it sound like you're tough on the border. I mean, it's all over the place.
Because he's trying to play it. That would be, I'm sure his staff wasn't for that. I'm sure his staff
Do
did
they
not
have
agree.
internals? They're not watching any internals?
I don't.
I
know.
Yeah,
I
don't.
can't-
I refuse to believe they're, because you would basically have to be burning your internals, just saying we're not going to look at any of that
I think they look at their internals and say we can change their minds
between now and November.
Look, it doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, this is the party that says you can be whatever sex you wish to be, and forget about no, gender's different than sex. No, sorry, you combine the two.
That's why I bring up the counter move last week, and then this is just the opposite. Or 2 weeks ago, and this is just the opposite. It's like they don't know where to go.
I'll tell you what it is. It's the campaign versus his actual White House staff. The campaign knows what they have to do, and the staff is saying no. That's the fight that's going on. The campaign knows we can't be doing this. You got to come out and at least do something on the border. So he does it for one day, and then the staff takes over again. Because you saw how Mayorkas spun it day one. Mayorkas never mentioned. In fact, Mayorkas, where was he on? Was it CNN that he was on? And they go, well, wait a minute. We know you've been doing that. We know you've been letting people in.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing to secure the border? Well, we're going to have many more pathways for people to come into the country. He never mentioned a secure border, as if he just knew, well, that was the campaign. It's not going to last. We're not going to do it. There is no change. Let's promote what we believe.
Well, is there an internal push against the campaign when the majority of the party doesn't want him to run to begin with?
I don't know.
To shape policy in their eyes instead of what works for the campaign.
There is nobody who has spoken up against what he did yesterday. Or, there were more people upset until they realized, he's not really going through with this whole thing. It's all BS. He's just pretending that he's going to make the border more secure.
Right.
But there's nobody objected to what he did yesterday.
Well, no, that's what I mean. Yeah. They're the ones pushing for this, and his campaign hasn't said a thing. Here's a big question. Who's been very vocal, except for the advertisements, in his campaign? Where is Joe Biden's campaign?
Well, they're the ones who put together the $50 million buy to, Trump's a criminal,
Again,
Trump's a criminal.
outside of the advertisement,
Yeah.
where are they?
Well, that's your campaign.
Well, no, I mean, you're in the media. You should be everywhere. You should be on every screen.
Well, yeah, the surrogates are out there. The surrogates are poor. I'm going to look to see if any of the surrogates actually talked about the border stuff. Maybe they didn't want to afterwards. Remember, they get what they want. Everything is they only go on friendly networks. They actually never get challenged, so they go on and promote whatever they want, whatever narrative they want, and they'll just talk and talk and talk and talk and filibuster. So, but no, I don't understand it. It's very tough to understand the mind of a liberal these days.
Well, because the last two moves have been counter moves against each other, and that doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, he did it, but he does it. He's doing it with Israel.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Does it with in a way does it with inflation. Why you people don't understand everything is great.
And
you can't ignore the inflation on it.
And here's the ultimate closer right here. Here's the ultimate exclamation point. Joe Biden's in control until he's not, with both the campaign and the White House. He's the guy.
He's the guy. Yeah.
So if he makes one call today and the opposite call tomorrow, sorry, that's just the way it is. There's nothing wrong with him. Everything's fine. Let Joe be Joe. Instead of let Trump be Trump, let Joe be Joe.
Well, the next thing is going to be, they're going to pound this now. I mean, it's you've got Netanyahu's been invited to speak.
Mm-hmm.
AOC shot, the first shot across the bow, and now the whole thing is going to be for Biden to say Netanyahu should not come to the United States and speak. Mm-hmm. That's their next goal. That's what they want to. That's what the left wants to approach the convention with.
Mm-hmm.
And Republicans probably are happy to see this go on. All right, you guys go ahead. You guys fight this thing out.
I think the RNC should promote that the DNC should have two conventions, and the RNC will have none.
The Hamas wing of the Democratic Party, the Democratic Convention, and the pro-Israel.
If I'm Trump on that debate stage, I want to yield my time to my opponent. Let him finish what he was saying. If you're going to have a full demonstration, then you let him talk as long as you can. Because, and this is it, they really are in a corner. They have boxed themselves into a corner, and they don't know how to get out. You can't convince me otherwise. And right now, we all know, we see a decline in the president. We see it. You're either in denial or you're lying about it if you say otherwise. We all know what we see. So they box themselves. How does anything make sense, quite frankly? How do they even get through a day? So trying to make sense of it all, it's honestly, and when the word got out yesterday, okay, he's going to go to the beach, and then he's heading off to Camp David. It's normal for them to go to somewhere, Camp David or wherever else. They isolate for a couple days before a debate. I don't know. You could have a month to prepare for this debate, and I don't know how he gets that done. 90 minutes. Not a 40. Think about this. What was his last State of the Union? 45, 50 minutes, something like that, whatever it was.
Yeah.
With a prompter. Okay? No prompters. You can make your own notes, but it's just him. And it doesn't matter even that it's the friendly media if he has a moment where he freezes. They can't save him from that.
When
I don't know what you do.
But when you're talking about if we know he has cognitive problems. We're not sure exactly what it is. But if it's dementia, do you make it worse by pounding with him all these 100 things that you remember? It's a full week of intensive, immersive guidance for Biden, where you throw, hundreds upon hundreds of things, into his mind. If he does have dementia, that's likely to just confuse him more.
And by the way, it would make sense, too, as to why he goes home every weekend. Because those familiar surroundings would be important.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point. 866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Tropical storm development is now underway in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. And as USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey notes,
very high likelihood that this will become our first named tropical cyclone of the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season. If that does happen, it would be Tropical Storm Alberto.
This system, once formed, is expected to take a western to northwestern trajectory.
Given the location, that does not leave a whole lot of open water before the system should move inland. The most likely scenario is that the fledgling tropical system will move ashore, most likely along the Gulf Coast of Mexico later this week.
Heavy to flooding rains have already occurred in parts of Central America and Mexico due to this system.
We could see some significant rainfall moving into coastal Mexico and eventually later into southern and coastal Texas.
We're up to between 5 to 10 inches of precipitation accumulation is forecasted by week's end. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, we've got to address this because CNN did. Here's the headline, and we'll play the audio coming up following the bottom of the hour. But it is quite humorous because basically the left is now trying to play word games. These Trump supporters say America isn't a democracy, and they're okay with it.
Okay.
Now, if you look up, and that's why when we have said, and then they, for example, he plays. That when they've got Trump people saying, well, we're not a democracy, we're a republic. And then they go, but it has differed in the past. They have Reagan going, we're going to save our democracy, trying to make this rift that these Republicans, Reagan believed it was a democracy and you don't believe. That's the message they're trying to sell.
Yeah.
Reagan understood that we are a constitutional republic.
Yes.
And go look the definition of democracy, whatever dictionary you'll go to, you'll get slightly different terms. We've said it before when we have said, look, you need to protect the democratic world. A constitutional republic, which is the people choosing their elected representatives, is a form of the general umbrella of a democracy. Mm-hmm. All right? But we are not a democracy where we are not a democracy government where you have one vote, one person, popular vote, trumps all. We don't. I like that, trumps all. we don't. That's not what we are. We're a constitutional republic, and we'll get into why. Good God, we got to start all over again. But it's just the left trying to play, CNN trying to play the word game. That's all they're doing.
Cheap fake news.
Yeah. Well, it's like these Trump supporters say America isn't a democracy, and they're okay with it. Well, what they're saying is they're not radical because the inference is they don't believe in the United States. They don't believe in the Constitution.
Right.
Well, the Constitution is what sets us down as a constitutional republic.
Right.
We'll get to that coming up.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio. from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Sunday Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, it's time for our audio cut of the day, which is pure insanity. So we head to where? San Francisco, the mayoral debate.
Okay.
And I saw this on the day that San Francisco was voted or was rated as the worst-run city in America. And I'm like, wow, this is like, thank you so much for making my job so easy. I can relate one thing to another thing.
Exactly. And here's why they were rated the worst-run city.
Here's why they were rated the worst-run city. What are the important issues? This is San Francisco Mayor London Breed exposing a candidate by asking him a question that probably will not be asked in any other mayoral debate in the United States this year or maybe any year.
I'd like to ask Mark a question. You were at the Harvey Milk LGBT Democratic Club and couldn't name any LGBT advisors to your campaign. You were at the debate last week and couldn't name any drag queens on your own. I was wondering if you could, this is an opportunity to redeem yourself. And if you could name 3 LGBTQ advisors for your campaign and 3 drag queens in San Francisco.
Well, you got me there.
I can name 3. I can name 3.
All right.
Eddie Izzard.
Mm-hmm.
Lady MAGA.
Mm-hmm.
Remember Lady MAGA?
Yeah.
Last week.
Right.
Lady MAGA standing outside during Pride Week with the MAGA hat on, promoting Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And Klinger.
I was going to go RuPaul, but Klinger is good.
All right. Well, okay, technically, Klinger wasn't a drag queen, though.
That's true.
All right, so we'll have to go with RuPaul.
Yeah.
No,
Now, as far as advisors on my campaign, let's, you know, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like that interview with Ted Cruz. Oh, so you're Cuban, huh? Oh, yeah. What kind of Cuban food do you like? What kind of Cuban music you listen to? Huh? Can you speak Spanish?
Oh, what's his name? The former ABC political director, Mark Halperin.
Mark Halperin, yeah.
What an idiot he is.
Oh, my gosh. That was so embarrassing.
Yeah.
That was so embarrassing. What, you think he's not? I mean, was that what he was actually trying to achieve? I'm going to prove Ted Cruz isn't Cuban at all. Where do you get that from? How does that even happen?
Gary, we've heard that you are as close, you've gone through the family tree, and you're as close to being 100% Irish as anybody else out there in the world. Why have you never had corned beef and cabbage?
Do you know what a shillelagh is? Do you have any 4-leaf clovers? Eric, we would like to see you eat haggis.
Now, you may be okay, Gary, because you've got the drinking thing down.
Well, that just means you're American. That doesn't really mean much.
Yes, I drink Bud Light. Oh, then you're definitely not Irish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I forgot about the Cuban thing with Cruz. I mean,
my gosh.
That was cringeworthy, wasn't it? That was just
it was just weird. Because
you're not an authentic Cuban.
Right. Huh? What kind of Cuban music do you like? What kind of Cuban food? Huh?
Are you sneaking the cigars in illegally?
Right. Exactly. Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
All right. And finally, CNN did the story. These Trump supporters say America isn't a democracy, and they're okay with it.
Yeah.
Here's part of it, okay?
All right.
This is just so dumb. Here we go.
Obviously, there's a lot of criticisms of Trump that he is bad for democracy, that he's bad for American democracy.
Okay, we are a republic.
We're a republic.
We are
We're
not a
representative
democracy.
republic. We're not a democracy.
One thing we've been hearing at Trump rallies like this over the past few months is that America isn't really a democracy.
America's not a democracy, it's a republic.
It's not a democracy. Okay, democracy is actually not as good as you think it is.
But for centuries, America has celebrated its democracy.
Democracy is worth dying for.
Democracy remains the definition of political legitimacy.
But some Republicans and pro-Trump media are pushing the idea that America is not a democracy.
The United States of America is not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic.
The United States of America is not a democracy. You don't want to be in a democracy.
We are not a democracy. We are a republic.
Is America a democracy?
America is a democracy. It was founded as a democracy.
I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories. I hear a lot of things out on the road. But to hear Americans, people who would describe themselves as patriots, say that America is not a democracy, that stopped me in my tracks.
Well, you're an idiot. I don't need to go any further. You're an idiot.
Well, and it keeps saying things without anything to back it up.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theory. By the way, this is not a new discussion.
No, this is the oldest discussion because the Constitution is what sets out what we are. And as we said, overall, and this is just, they're playing a word game is all they're doing.
Right.
The word game is, under the general umbrella of a democracy, you could find a constitutional republic.
Yeah.
But when you get to the inner workings of the Constitution, we are not a democracy. It's not popular vote. And that's what everybody means when, because those Trump supporters are actually very smart. They're the ones that understand. You notice that he doesn't stick around to ask those people what they mean. He just plays the cut and then moves away. I know that because they did that to me a long time ago on Nightline and took me completely out of context.
Yeah.
But he didn't let the people explain why we're a republic. Of course, we're a constitutional republic. We are under the umbrella of a democracy, of a generalized democracy, but we are not a democracy form of government. When you get to it, our Constitution is a constitutional republic. We elect representatives, but also we have, which makes us not a democracy, but a constitutional republic, which, by the way, almost everyone is. There's very few countries. I'd like to find one. So many have mirrored the bicameral legislature that we have, and the Senate, which makes us a republic. You have 2 per state.
Right.
The Electoral College, where the popular vote doesn't win you an election, it's the number of states that vote for you that win you the election. What states you win, that's what gets you the presidency in the United States. And so when you look at that, they're arguing words without the specific explanation.
Right. And again, you put the ominous music behind it, and
I know that's the best, the music. Yes.
The conspiracy theories. Even their beloved Ronald Reagan believed in a democracy. And all right, you're either completely ignorant and know nothing about the conversation that's been going on for the ages. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, I don't know who the guy is.
Or you're lying.
Donnie O'Sullivan, but he sounds like a 7th grader trying to do some type of junior high school project.
Yeah.
Reading here, David Harzeni, why the left hates it when you point out we're a republic, not a democracy. For as long as I can remember, the left has been sneering at anyone who points out that the United States is a republic, not a democracy. They find the notion almost as unsophisticated and fascist as flying a Revolutionary era flag. even for some people I admire, dismiss a democracy-republic debate. The other day, CNN's Donnie O'Sullivan tried to make Trump fans who repeat this factual contention look like a bunch of dumb, lockstepping authoritarians. To explain the problem, CNN even recruited democracy expert, quote, democracy expert, Ann Applebaum, who noted that America is a democracy. It was founded as a democracy. The word democracy and the word republic have often been used interchangeably. There isn't a meaningful difference between the two. Well, sure there is when you get down to the minutia of the government.
Yeah.
As the contemporary leftists who target virtually every protection we have against mob rule in the name of democracy, attacking the Supreme Court, the Electoral College, federalism, the filibuster, the Senate, even the existence of states. They understand the difference.
Yeah.
Ask leftists who treat the popular vote not as a wish-casting cope, but as a means of legitimizing presidential elections. Those who want a few big states ruling the nation via direct federal democracy are not interested in an American republic. But the argument is dumb. The people that actually know are the Trump supporters. They understand. And when you hear democracy, 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 that is, you're talking about more of a direct democracy. You're talking about a electoral college that doesn't exist. You're talking about a Senate that doesn't exist because you rule much more on a popular vote. Now, a direct democracy, a pure direct democracy would be the people voting for everything.
Right.
Then you get into a representative government, more of a republic, but then you get into a constitutional republic because if you go back and read the Federalist Papers, whatever, the Founding Fathers were so concerned about what? The tyranny of the majority. The Bill of Rights is there. Individual liberties is there for a reason. And also part of the republic, the constitutional republic, is a separation of powers.
Right.
But you take all of these things in there, and the Republicans understand what it means. They understand. And so Eric, it's childish is what it is. The music behind, these people don't believe we're a democracy, and they're okay with it.
Well, as if this is some kind of underground conversation.
I know.
That's not happening and hasn't been happening for a very long time. But you know what? If you're new to it, and that's one possibility, he's ignorant on the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, he's a child.
And he's presenting it to other people who are ignorant, then that's what you get. And again, it's, welcome to the conversation that's been going on for forever. Since the beginning.
Since 1776.
Pretty much. And it's as if it's new. That's kind of embarrassing. It is childish, and it's embarrassingly bad. As if they have, because here's the thing. You are clueless. You have no idea how it works. Wouldn't you want to know before you do that, before you present anything?
Here's an idea. Let's forget the labels and let's go down and say specifically what makes us different and what we find special. And that's what we do when we go through the Constitution. We go through and we say we believe in the separation of powers. We believe in the Senate. We believe because the Senate is very important because everybody must have representation, or you don't keep the republic together.
Right.
And you guys are wrong because we have the battle hymn of the republic, not battle hymn of the democracy. So you're wrong.
Yeah.
Stupid. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You can go right to Webster's Dictionary. The short answer is democracy and republic are frequently used to mean the same thing, a government in which the people vote for their leaders. in part because that context was clear to everyone involved in the American Revolution. These terms were used interchangeably in the late 1700s. Both democracy and republic meant the power to govern was held by the people rather than the monarch. Because democracy is an abstract name for a system, and republic is the more concrete result of that system. Democracy is frequently used when the emphasis is on the system itself. Those terms are not mentioned in the Declaration of Independence, a document that nevertheless expresses clearly that the government should be established, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That reads like the definition of both democracy and republic. But Section 4 of the Constitution, the term Republican is used. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a Republican form of government.
There you go.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.